Having something strange and crazy happen to you can be a really tough row for some people to hoe. But when it happens on Christmas, that changes everything, because Christmas will never be the same. The original poster of this story wished to remain anonymous, so we're going to call him Clem. Clem and his wife had to fight really hard, but eventually won the battle to get their kids to bed on Christmas Eve. It wasn't easy, as the kids were practically hyperventilating with excitement. But when they finally crawled into bed that night, exhausted, they knew at least everything was set for their Christmas Day festivities. Even Clem had a hard time getting to sleep. The house was so quiet that his own excitement for Christmas Day made it sound like a carnival inside of his head. And just as he's drifting off, he's startled back to awake by a commotion outside, somewhere around the front of his house. Clem jumps out of bed and runs to the living room window because he can see the front yard better from there. And they had just gotten a bunch of fresh snow, and the moon is pretty bright that night. So when he looks out the window, he can see everything as clear as day. And he sees something that he has trouble wrapping his brain around to this day. Right there on his front lawn is some bipedal entity. The thing is so outside of his world paradigm that he can only manage to describe it as walking upright and basically humanoid, with what appears to be eyes, a nose, and a mouth. And not only that, but it's surrounded by several other quadrupedal creatures that are covered in fur, with these horn kind of things sticking out of their heads. These things are at least closer to animals we might recognize, but still nothing he has ever seen before. And he can see some kind of craft and thinks that this must be what the Aztecs felt like when Cortez landed. Just absolutely no frame of reference for what is sitting on his front lawn. But he sees footprints leading from the edge of it, so he assumes that's how they got there. One thing he does know is that whatever these things are, they are not of this world. At this point, he thinks they must have seen him looking at them through the window, because in a flash, they are gone. Clem thinks that this brief but terrifying encounter is over, but he is wrong. He hears something start banging around on his roof. He hears one big thud, followed by several different knocks and scrapes that sound like footsteps. Are these things trying to get in? Clem is terrified. How exactly does he protect his family from this? He doesn't even know what this is. But before he can come close to figuring out what to do next, the bipedal entity appears right in front of him, right in his living room. At first, it's surrounded by this misty cloud, like a horrifying version of Pigpen or something. And he knows he's not just imagining things, because he can see the stockings over the fireplace swaying a bit. Clem is at DEFCON 5 panic mode. He can't breathe, and his heart feels like it's gonna explode. But as soon as he looks this thing in the face and locks eyes with it, this extraordinary sense of peace and well-being comes over him. Somehow, he just knows that this thing is not here to hurt him. Something about the look on its face or the way it moves, he doesn't really know how to describe it. It just imparts this feeling of joy and almost playfulness. Of course, Clem is still kind of panicking and wondering, now what do I do? Why is this thing here in my living room? And as if reading his thoughts, the entity blurs a little bit, kind of like the Flash leaving and coming back. He swears it was only an instant, but now he can see full stockings wobbling like heavy pendulums from the mantle. As Clem's trying to convince himself that he is not insane, he watches the being touch the side of his nose, like a signal straight out of some 40s gangster movie. But poof, he's gone again, in yet another cloud of mist and dust, only he can hear it on the roof again. much quieter this time, but they're still there. He hears a sharp, quick whistle, almost like somebody calling a dog. And then he hears the attic timbers groaning a little, creaking, like there's something heavy that's shifting weight on top of them. And then everything goes silent. Except in the distance, he hears a faint but clear voice yell, but at the same time quietly in his head say, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." I hope you all enjoyed my new telling of an old story. To me, Christmas is the absolute manifestation of magic in our world. How many times have you heard about people putting $10,000 into a Salvation Army bucket completely anonymously? That doesn't happen except for at Christmas time. And to me, that is magic. And I just couldn't resist the opportunity I have to hopefully spread that feeling of magic to as many people as I can. I was just telling my son a couple of days ago that the joy of Christmas is in the giving, not in the getting. And he's 9, so of course he didn't believe me. But I tried to tell him that the magic is that when you give, when you see that joy in somebody else, it just makes your joy that much more. So please, if you know somebody else who is in need of a little magic of the strange and mysterious kind, share this video. Let's see how many smiles we can make this Christmas season. And as we wrap this year up, I just want you all to know how grateful I am for you. You've brought magic to me by supporting this little channel, and I'll never be able to express how much that means to me.
Can I have a moment to myself, please?
So may all of you and all of your families have the merriest Christmas ever. Be joyful out there, and we will see you again on the In-Between.